Hey, everybody, glad to have you here. You know, if you don't use these four elements and you're putting out a message, or you're making an offer, or you're trying to sell something, or you're trying to sell yourself, you're wasting valuable time, energy, and resources, i.e., read money, if you don't do these things. And we're going to talk about that today because you can pre wire your message to be effective in somebody else's brain because their brain is pre-wired to receive your message when you know what those four things are. We're going to talk about that today. Hey, thanks for being with us. Comment in the box below if you are watching on the show. Let me know that if you are with me on my profile channel or on one of my business pages or on one of my business groups, or whether you're catching me on YouTube. Hey, just jump in there, leave me a message, let me know that you're watching with us today. All right, so if the whole concept, the whole idea here for us is to be able to take our message and get attention. Well, we've been talking about this on our show when we've been talking about how in the world do you get your message in front of people? And we know it starts with, first of all, the headline. You see, the headline is pre-wired for us to read. Now, if we don't have a good headline, then people don't click, people don't open, people don't pay attention, people don't see us. So you have to pre-wire some things. So we're going to talk about what are some of those pre-wired things, all right, that need to happen, for us in our head, in our mind, in our brain, right? And we're gonna talk about that today. All right. I'm gonna throw that up there on the screen for us here in just a minute, like right there. We're gonna talk about that. Let me get the slideshow going. There we are. See if that does that. Nope, it didn't do that. So let's fix that. Sorry about that. What do you think those things are? What do you think those things are? Let's do it this way. All right, there they are. Okay, so let's talk about that process for what we're doing. Let's talk about the process for what we're doing. How do those things help us in our head? How does it help our message? How does it help our message? We're gonna talk about that today. I'd like to get your feedback and what you think would be some of the four elements that are necessary to get your message in somebody else's head because their brain is pre-wired. Their brain's pre-wired to already be receptive to that idea. You probably know a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. As a matter of fact, if you've ever done much in sales, if you've ever done much in conversation with people, you probably maybe instinctively did this, or maybe you stumbled on this, or maybe somewhere you found out about this and you've used it, but you need to be more intentional about it. We're going to talk about it on today's show. So if you got an idea, go ahead and leave that in the chat below. So first of all, I know you're watching, and second of all, that you can participate with me on the show today. So here's kind of where we start with the concept and idea. It's all kind of built around uh, what happens in the process of persuasion. See, persuasion is a huge component for people. Immediately when people come engage with us, whether it's live like this, or whether it's live in person, or whether it's hearing us on the radio or on an audio, or whether they're reading us about it in a book, or we're standing up on stage, or if we're standing in the presence of someone, immediately there is, for the human brain, immediate transfer to the process of what we're going to talk about today. And that engagement, that moment of engagement, determines whether we get any further or not, right? It determines that because our brain is wired that way. See, the first thing the brain does when it encounters something is make a decision about, and a very quick decision, whether it's stranger danger, fight or flight, or open to this person and the message that we're hearing. That's why if you are sitting in a calm, quiet place and all of a sudden there's a loud noise, you jump. Your body responds immediately because the brain is wired to deal with this sudden concept that happens to you, whether it's a loud noise or it's somebody getting in your face, or it's a message that's thrown in front of you, or something comes on the screen. That's why when you watch a show and all of a sudden there's something flashes on the screen in front of you, your body reacts because you're pre-wired to do that. You're pre-wired to do that. And that concept, that idea is built around the idea of pain, right? Whether it's painful to your eyes, painful to your ears, painful to your thought process, painful to engage with. It's something that you don't want to have in your space. It's painful, right? And that is because there is a base thing that happens in the brain, and we all know what it is. We all know what it is. It's that concept and idea of, you know, no pain, no gain, right? In other words, if it's not painful, it doesn't gain our attention. There can be things we like, there can be things we want, there can be things we need, but until that becomes a pain to us, we don't pretty much interact with this. And if it gets to a fear, it causes this release in our body of all other kinds of things that cause us to flee or fight, right? So we don't want to get too far down the process with people. We want to get just a little ways in the process and help people come to grips with, to grab a hold of the whole concept of pain. What is the pain? And discovering what people's pain is important. Now, oftentimes people don't tell you their pain, right? They don't just come right out and admit it. You have to craft things in such a way to be able to get to the pain of what it is. You may think their pain is a price point, and their pain may be totally something else. Their pain may be that they don't want that they hate being rejected by their customer, or they don't like conflict, or they don't want to have to quote deal with one more thing. That may be more pain than quote what you think what you think or perceive the pain is. So part of the process is you have to discover what the pain is, or you don't gain an audience with people. You don't gain an audience with people. And so you have to design your conversation. You have to design your presentation. You have to design your speech from the stage. You have to write your book. You have to put the headline in such a way that it gets people's attention. It gets people's attention. That is so important. The idea is like a process for your mind to go through, and so we're gonna talk about that. It is the whole concept and idea of how do we persuade people with the process, right? How do we persuade people with the process? So, what do you suppose is the next thing you should be doing to be able to get people's attention, to persuade them? So, if you can gain their attention because you understand their pain, they understand their pain. So, for a business owner, maybe it's a price point, maybe it's an inconvenience, maybe it's an employee, maybe it's a piece of technology. If you're in somebody that deals with people in their life, it could be their emotions. It could be a lack of knowledge. It could be a lack of character. It could be a lack of finances. It could be any number of things. But how do you get to the pain component that we're talking about here? No pain, no gain, because we don't get an audience when that process happens, right? So element number one, how do I deliver on the pain part? How do I deliver on the pain part? How do I get people to pay attention? And we've seen it's done a lot of different ways. How do I gain attention is I have to tap the pain. So if it's a fear of loss, it's a fear of disconnect, if it's the fear of losing money, if it's the fear of not getting attention, if it's fear of losing a customer, fear of losing business, you have to discover which is the greatest of the pain. Greatest of the pain. That becomes super important in the process, right? That becomes super important. So you have to then understand how is the person you're speaking to in the audience, your message, that you're delivering your message to, whether it's in a book or whether it's on a stage or whether it's on a video or whether it's in person with people. What is it that needs to be eliminated from them, right? And so you can do all kinds of processing. Each company spend sometimes multi-millions of dollars only to fail because they didn't get to the pain that people are wanting to eliminate. It is such a central role uh, in our brain that if we don't tap into that almost immediately, we don't gain attention to continue the conversation. In other words, how do we earn the right to be heard, okay, with our patient, our client, our customer, our audience, the reader, the listener, the viewer? How do we do? We have to get their attention through pain, through the pain that they're struggling. So if they're struggling, we have to quickly discover what is the pain and what has to be eliminated for the pain to go away. All right, that's element number one. Element number two is no claim, no fame. Right? No claim, no fame. And what do you mean by that? When we're talking about that, what do we mean when we talk about that process? It is if what you have to offer is not so unique, so much that it stands out as a green apple in a pile of red, then what you're selling, what you're delivering, what you're putting out in front of other people is as much for them, the competitor, your competitor, as it is for yourself. So if your solution to the pain is not so unique, then you're just building a case for everybody else that's in the same business you are. In other words, if you're selling an X product and it is the same solution that the next person that walks in is going to be selling to them, you're just setting them up to succeed over yourself. So you have to understand there has to be a uniqueness to your solution, right? Yeah, there has to be a uniqueness. So if you're able to discover the pain points with people, say there's 3 pain points, and you're able to redesign your solution to specifically address those pain points, then you have created a green apple in a sea of red. And people will immediately be able to say, I want what you have. I want the solution that you are providing here, right? So that's what we can discover. So if you have no claim, you're not going to have any fame. You're not going to be different than anybody else. As I often say, you're just going to be the 9th lemonade stand in a row of 10. You're not going to stand out any different than anyone else. So help me understand whatever it is you deliver, whether it's you do something online or whether you do something in person or whether you sell a product or you sell a service, what makes your claim different? Because when you do that, you eliminate the competition. You eliminate the competition. You quit selling for everybody else and you're able to deliver for what only you can deliver. That's that part which gives you, that's the person I want to do that for me. That's the product I want to buy. That's the person I want to learn from. That's the person I want to watch on screen. That's the person I want to listen to. That's what makes that process work. So think about that from that perspective. And then the third element is if we don't realize, if there's no evidence, there's no confidence. There's no evidence, there's no confidence. And what that concept and idea puts out there in front of people, if we can't show the person in the audience, the person who our prospect, our patient, our customer, if we cannot show evidence of why what we're putting in front of them is the thing to have, the thing to buy, the thing to believe, the thing to envelop, the thing to believe, grab a hold of, the thing that will improve me, the thing that will change me, the thing that will get me what I want, the thing that will get rid of my pain, if there's no evidence to that, right, then there's no confidence in what we're talking about. And normally that falls in 3 things, in 3 areas. First of all, many times it falls in the area of the financial concept. In other words, will this make me money or save me money? Will this give me a return on my investment? Will this increase my portfolio? Will this increase my esteem? Will this increase my friends who are more affluent. In other words, what's the financial return on it? If I pay, am I going to get something back? Or even better, am I going to pay and make something from it? So oftentimes when we're dealing with people, we fail to realize that they have to see the evidence of how this is going to, quote, make them money, save them money, right? Or number two, it has to be a strategic move for them. You have to give evidence that this is the best option out there. The best option out there. That if you do this, then things are going to be better in your business. You can save time, right? You can save energy. You can have the best employee. You can have the best product. You can have the best service. This will position you better in the market. In other words, they have to see that it will strategically help them. It will strategically remove the pain. All right, and so they have to see it from a strategic point. And the third area of that is it could be personal. How's it going to help them? Because look, we all know this to be true. We as human beings, we are very selfish. We have to be taught to share. Do you know how many times a day do you think about you as opposed to somebody else? I mean, just guess. Just put it in the chat. How many times do you think in a day's time do you think about yourself over everybody else? Now, think about that from the business perspective, or from a coaching perspective, or from a product delivery, or sales or service delivery. Think about that the person comes in to have an encounter with you. They're thinking about one thing: what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And so if we don't address that issue with them from a very personal thing, how does this solve their problem of pain? How does this make their life better? How does this give them a return on the investment for themselves? In other words, the value of what we deliver is far outweighs the cost of what we're selling, or what we're trying to deliver to them. Even if it's a free online presentation, even if it's a free book, even if it's a free pamphlet, even if it's a free consultation. How do we position this so that the value of what we're doing far outweighs the cost? Because like, if you're watching this, if you've watched this from beginning to now, you've given up 18 minutes of your life that you're never going to get back. Is this going to be a good investment for you? Some people determined that early and they stayed on. Some people bailed out because they didn't see that this was going to be of value to them personally. It's not going to help me personally. So we have to understand that if we can't create confidence in the mind of the viewer, the listener, the hearer, the prospect, the person that's considering this, because if we can't show evidence to them that this will solve their pain, solve their problem, solve their financial issues, solve their strategic, if they don't see evidence of that, then they have no confidence in what it is that you're offering to them. They don't have confidence in that, because you have to demonstrate that to them. Okay, so that's the third element. And then the fourth element is, if there's no clarity, there's no close. If there's no clarity, there's no close. And all that simply means for us is that in the process of people and how they do what they do, and someone as well said this, a confused mind does not buy. Okay, so if there's no clarity, there's no close. If you can't, if you do all of what you do and you bring it down to a logical reason, people don't buy. Because most people don't buy because of logic. They buy because it's delivered emotionally. There is suddenly a reason for me to say, I like it, I want it, I'm going to buy it because it's going to alleviate my pain right now. And so that's how they push forward in the process. But if you try to bring your message, your product, your service in through the door of logic, you're going to fail. You're going to fail in the process, because people buy because of emotion. And that is not the same brain, okay, that's in your head that does these other things. That's a different brain, and that's where you want to reach into this brain. So You deal with the pain, right? You deal with the pain, and you deal with the of giving people the gain of what they're going to gain from this by doing this, and then you position yourself as I am the person to deliver that, and then you can bring clarity if you deliver it to the right place, right? If you're in the delivery business, you know how important it is to deliver the right product to the right place. So it doesn't matter if you have the right product and you deliver it to the wrong address, nobody wants to pay for it. Have you ever thought about that from a delivery standpoint and process? If you took the best thing you had, the most expensive thing you had, and wound up at the wrong address, what do you suppose the person at the door is going to tell you? I didn't order that. I don't want that. I'm not paying for that. Because you delivered it to the wrong place. So for you, the emotional concept of as a person who is trying to deliver something to somebody, you have to make sure I deliver it to the right place so there can be a close with this. That is, so people will take action, the next step. Because when people are confused, they don't do that. They don't do that. So glad to have you on the show today. Appreciate you being with us. Those things that we're talking about here today, are all a part of how people move from I've got a problem to I need to find a solution, and I'm going to find a person with the solution. And so that becomes a real important component of what they're doing, and that's why we have to understand there's a formula that involves involves pain and claim and gain and the brain. We have to understand those four elements are all what makes the process of getting someone on board, right? Of getting somebody on board. That's an important component. Pain, claim, gain, brain. All of them are aims. And that becomes an important process for you as whether you're a business owner or whether you're a coach or a speaker or a writer or somebody that does concepts like this, whether you're a doctor or butcher or maker, candlestick maker, whatever it is you are, those are the elements that in helping people be persuaded by what really happens in the process, right? And so we're going to talk about in the next show. We're going to talk about okay, what that's kind of the theory of how this happens, and there's a formula for that, and we know it works, right? What's the science behind it? What's the science behind this concept? Right? What's the science behind it? We're going to talk about that on the next show. You might be thinking, okay, yeah, I really need to understand the science thing because there is a science behind all of this. Hey, thanks for being with us on the show today. My name is Dean Renfro. Thanks for being on the Dean Renfro Show. Appreciate your comments. Share this with somebody so we know that the message is getting out there. If it's worthwhile for you to share, hopefully we addressed a pain, right? And we made a claim, and we helped you have a gain, and that we delivered it to the right brain, and you can go out there and do this. Hey, talk to you soon. Have a great rest of today.